So for this one, I wanted to do a bit more of this kind of random starting point concept that we had explored a little bit in one of the past few sketches. And for those, I had created this series of clips. These are controlled by follow actions. So you hit start, and then this just jumps to one, and it's got written on it an instruction. So for example, drone. And I wanted to expand this to include instruments, maybe tempo, and some other things. So I'm going to go ahead and create a whole bunch of these to use to give ourselves a direction, and also save it as sort of a template like this that we can drag in and use to help us start future sketches. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this video, and when I come back, we'll have a whole bunch of more options. Okay, so we're back, and I have, as you can see, created this monster. It's maybe somewhat self-explanatory. You basically just click on these, and it picks a random one for you. And this could be obviously customized to however you want it, but I have just put in some things for the sake of time that I guess work for how I've been doing these sketches. Best way we can do it here is we could either click this or select all of these and just hit enter, and it'll pick a bunch of random ones. So as we can see here, we've got a drone, one instrument choice, sampler, got off the hook easy there. Effects choices 2, use a pre-made effects rack, okay, and so then I can roll again since I got 2 choices. So pre-made effects rack, and then also corpus. I'll have to somehow remember all of this. 120 to 140, again, got off the hook pretty easy. For key, I just put sort of the white keys essentially, which on your keyboard for Ableton is the ASDF row. I also put in some wild cards, which means just pick whatever you want if it lands on that. Roll again, obviously self-explanatory. Use a pre-made effects rack or instrument rack. That is for me to pick something in here. Could be any one of these. So this is just a way that we can give ourselves a jumping off point. We don't have to use it at all, or we could ignore certain sections of it. And if you ever wanted to do something like this, you know, switch out these for whatever you want them to be and get even more specific, give yourself more rules. But using the follow actions and these annotated clips, it's pretty easy to do this kind of a fun little trick, or just, you know, fun way of giving yourself some kind of a starting point. Okay, so I want to go ahead and save all these for future use. We've got this old one here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. We don't need that one anymore. So I'll drag all these. They're all selected. So beauty of Ableton, you can just select a bunch of tracks and drag them in, and it makes a project for you. Random jumping off point. So we'll just, we will be able to pull this in for the future. And we could also have, you know, where we just re-roll certain ones of these for each, you know, per track. We could have a, you know, a new roll, so a new instrument selection and effect selection per track. Obviously tempo and key, you know, we don't need to do twice. So anyway, something to think about for future sketches, or this sketch. Okay, so let's see. We had a tempo of 120 to 140, so let's just go with 133 on that. The key of G, I'll put that there to remember. We had the sampler. I think that was so much you can do with that. We'll try to limit ourselves in this to some of the samples in here, which isn't a lot of options, but as you've seen before, we can do quite a lot with that. We had corpus as our effect, and we had pick a pre-made effects rack. So I'll go ahead and choose, we could choose any one of these. Choose wisely. And again, we can just use those rules for this track here, and then as we make new tracks, we could keep re-rolling. And in fact, before I make this decision, well, let's see. Maybe I'll just I'll use this one, and we can edit it and change it however we want. Now we could be rigid. We could say we're only allowed to use these things. We could also make another row on the random picker that says, are you allowed to add new ones or not? You know, we could really trick out the rules to go pretty deep if we felt like it. So I'll just drag these in here. What I'll do is group them and close this down for future use. We can even, you know, just shut that down and put it right here, kind of out of the way. Okay, so keep G. I'm just going to start with, I guess, any old G note. And we could even put scales and chords in on that list of random things. If we want, that would be interesting. Okay, so let's get our video here, just some stuff I made in 3D Studio Max a long time ago. And let's just hit play. I guess we need a sound in there. We've got, let's try this digital sign. And we could also have a random picker for MIDI effects as well, and Max for Live. You can get really deep with it. A lot of you might be like, what is the point of doing that? Well, honestly, when you can't think of a specific direction or idea, you know, it's nice to let chance choose for you, or at least, oh, hey, chance choose for you, or at least give you some kind of help in deciding what you want to do. Okay, so it's too bad we can't automate that. Maybe we can group this and then map it. I'm not sure. This it doesn't look like it. The sampler, a lot of things are locked down, unfortunately. Whereas the simpler, I think you can actually automate those things. So kind of an unfortunate drawback. With the sampler, I might just be missing something. I would love to be able to automate this. So let's give ourselves maybe some volume modulation. And if we turn off retrigger, that LFO doesn't reset every time their note hits. And I believe turn off that retrigger as well, so we get more note stacking. I guess we don't need this grouped, so I'll ungroup that. And I actually forget which style. I didn't really pay attention before, so let's go ahead and roll again. Okay, so we'll start off with a bass. And let's pitch this down to put it in more of a bass zone. Awesome. Now, I'm not sure what's happening inside this chunker, but it's bringing out some bite. All right, let's get some automations going. I think we need a little more runway than that. I think if we wanted to get this bass line more locked to the beat, we would want to draw some more straight, you know, this kind of curvy stuff is a lot more liquidy sounding. Maybe a mix of these. And we could just pull it back onto the tempo a little bit. And we can leave the resonation off the grid a little bit. I think as we add steps, it kind of pushes it out of bassline territory. But it also makes the sampler have almost like two different instruments. You've got this higher pitched one, and then the bass one's happening at the same time. So it's like we're getting two instruments in one in some respect. Which may or may not be what we actually want, but it's worth exploring and just seeing what happens. Let's try a few other algorithms here. I do know the pipe and tube ones are not bad for bass. But I did like the kind of resonance coming off of this membrane or plate. Let's have a look under the hood of this FX chunker. Corpus in there as well. Guessing some distortions in here maybe. I guess a bit of drive on that filter. Maybe that's where the distortion is coming from. Normally the frequency shifter can be a little bit too extreme with a lot of different settings. Okay, cool. Let's roll the dice again, and we'll ignore tempo and key for now. And I'm going to roll again since we've already got a bass thing going. Minimal could be interpreted as a lot of different things. In fact, it could be interesting to have two styles. One is like minimal, maximal. Maybe I'll change this to noise. We could really make it however we want. So wild card is just pick whatever you want. So I guess I'm going to go with a texture on that. We've got, okay, drum synth. And the instrument choices means we could roll again. I guess choose one of those three. So we've got drum synth, impulse, and analogs. Okay, I think I'll stick with the drum synth. And effects choice is 3, so we get 3 rolls. Phaser pre-11. Hybrid reverb, that's a good one. And vinyl distortion. Okay, so drum synth. We'll do texture. And hopefully I can remember those effects choices. Let's get those in first. Hybrid reverb. Get the phaser, hybrid reverb, and vinyl distortion. I think let's see, hybrid reverb is called up by a hotkey, so we've got that good. And drum synth. So since I chose texture, maybe we'll go with sampler. That's a cop-out. But hey, I guess it's also a choice. So, and what sample should we put in there? There we go. Let's see how we can muck this thing up. If I remember last time, we had last time we used the sampler, we put an arpeggiator in front of that thing and sped it up quite a bit. So let's just do something in the key of G. Cool. And I guess with the hybrid reverb, we could also drop in the same just silly. I wish we could choose the starting point in here, but we can also the size essentially pitch shifts the impulse. So at a 500%, you really transform it. It's hard to sort of tell the original sound of it. All right, cool. Let's pull in our, so we have this bouncy ball thing. I'll turn that off first. Or actually, we could just use our note probability, pull it down to 0 when we don't want notes happening. But I wanted to explore the rack that we had made before. MIDI rack and this bouncy baller thing. And right now it's tuned to any one of these notes, C4, C. So we can shift this down to C4. And we don't need this or this anymore. And let's pitch it back to G. Let's just make sure we're getting G notes. I don't know if I did this calculation right. Oh, let's take that out. We don't need that. Almost. Let's see. Up to. There we go. And I think we could play with the length here and the start. Get some micro sounds going there. I wanted to pull the hybrid reverb in here. I specifically left the dynamics-based effects out of this effects list, like utility, compressor, because I feel like those should be ones in the EQ8 like that we can just use whenever we want, however we want, versus which ones get actually picked through the random selection. Those rules, you know, if you're going to work with this kind of like random starting point system, those rules, you know, are something you got to decide for yourself. Like how rigid, how tough do you want to make it on yourself? So by automating the start point on this sampler Max for Live patch, you really can create some interesting rhythmic structures that way. So let's take it down to -14. And I believe I left the tremolo out of this effects list as well. Auto pan is not in there. Yes, I wanted to be able to have the option to kind of use this whenever I felt like it. So and I suppose we should also give ourselves the option of not having to use the effects if we don't want to. Cool, let's automate this bouncy ball effect, which is pretty much just an arpeggiator with a gate here, and it's all linked up to this knob. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, this will break because I did discover a bug. So we need to get this, instead of speaker on, this. So real quick fix. I should, let's see, be able to map this gate here. Whoops. I see. I've got a map from here. And then let's get rid of that, and then but it's shutting off at the 50-50 mark, so we need to raise this one up to here. I think 21, 26, 127. Let's try this. So it should just shut off at this point. Cool. Hopefully they fix that bug. But until then, there at least is a workaround. Very glitchy. Now let's see about automating some of this stuff. This one, my hotkey doesn't work because we don't have the automation modulation buttons here to push these things down. Not even sure if there's a way that will be able to be worked around. Two different hotkeys, I guess, for two different layouts, but that's kind of obnoxious. I guess we'll just, some things you just have to live with. Cool. I like this because it's transforming this vocal into kind of a more of a tonal instrument. Sort of similar in some ways to how, you know, Adam TM works with voices. Just makes really tiny loop points. Well, this is a little more haphazardous because we've got the automation loop controlling this. So let's try to play with. By automating this section, at least we're getting some variable distortion happening. Cool. Let's minimize those points. And we can also clean this up here. I'm a stickler for keeping projects somewhat organized and clean. You know, it wasn't always that way. I think that everyone's got to go with their own way, of course, but I've always found that cool, I like that kind of just bursting on every now and then. Almost kind of sounds like a violin. And we can add a tremolo to before the hybrid reverb to give even more kind of weird strangeness for what goes through this reverb. You could also add a tremolo after the hybrid reverb. Might be interesting. Alright, I want to tweak just a few more things on this track and then move on to another one. Let's get this tremolo only coming on every so often. Super glad they fixed our bug that we were struggling with in Ableton 10 with automating on loops that had a non-quantized length. That was frustrating. They have fixed quite a few bugs with 11. Seems like version 10 was just almost a joke in some ways. Maybe they just had a really lazy development crew at that point in time. Who knows? Having worked in software development with video games, I definitely know there are phases in a company where sometimes you just have a bad, just sometimes your team is a lot more on it than other times. Okay, cool. Let's move on to another track. Let's roll the dice again. Wild card. Okay, cool. So I guess I'll go with either beat or texture, and then we get one instrument, collision. And then 4 effects choices: vocoder, pre-made rack, reverb, and pre-made rack. Wow, we're really getting off the hook easy. All right. Clean that up, and let's see, collision. We got a reverb, vocoder if I remember, and a couple of pre-made racks. Let's go with our beat, repeat, select, and we'll think of another one in a minute. Let's get something going here. For this one, I'm gonna make some of my own notes. On the key of G. So let's see what we get with that. Make sure we're in the right key here. Yep, okay. Nice. Here, basically we have a sort of a triplet 1/12 kind of motif. I'm curious what will happen when we add a arpeggiator here with that kind of and I believe the collision is like the corpus, but in instrument form, with 2 resonators. Almost sounds like somebody's tapping on like a metal pipe or something. Let's make some of these a little longer. There we go. Very odd timing, but this whole sketch thing is most typically not about doing anything normal. Let's make sure our levels are still looking cool. Okay, good. Let's keep it on 112 and every now and then just have it jump down to 124, do that spastic kind of, almost like a tabla player, finger drummer. Now I'm curious what a chord will sound like. I guess we don't really have much of a decay on this. That's kind of cool. Let's automate that. It's a very steamy sounding percussion instrument there. Cool. We can just, let's see. Oh, hey, not sure what caused that, but we'll pause this and be right back. Okay, so thank God we were able to recover okay from that. I definitely am hearing now that this vocal stuff is a little loud, so sometimes it's good to just take a quick break from things, and then you come back even after 5 minutes. You could just hear like, whoa, that's way too loud, or that other sound is way too annoying. Or... Forget what over here I was going to... automate something, and then it crashed. I think it was this right here, maybe. Yes. Okay. Let's see if we can... copy some of this. get a lot of interesting sort of expression coming from this almost alien sounding timbres. Oops, let's... Well, that's cool. I just noticed this on-off button for our clip there. Cool. Collision is definitely one that I have not messed with a lot, but it seems quite powerful. Really need to dive pretty. Okay, I think I want to give these two parameters some love. Kind of a goofy sounding piece of music. Let's just make sure all the levels are okay, everything's looking good. Definitely not fitting our video. I think if we wanted to fit this video and its pacing, you know, we would definitely have to either speed the video up or just add a drone rack. You know, this rack we made. Time stretch, yes. Pretty much a CPU hog, but does a good job of droning everything that comes into it, for better or for worse. And if you have a lot of percussive sounds or whatever, you do get a lot of white noise coming out of this smear effect. I should probably rename this to smear. I mean, it kind of is like a stretch, but that's a little more accurate. Here we go. There's our experimental breakdown. All right. Now, I want to automate these. Cool. Let's clean that up. Does sound a bit corpusy. And we need to automate this as well. In fact, I think I could just draw something in there. I do like the strange airiness that we're getting off of that vocoder. And I think at this point, you know, it's not a bad spot to go ahead and just deviate from this using the randomize stuff to give ourselves, you know, direction. We could obviously use that throughout the whole course of a sketch. But honestly, I kind of like breaking the rules or, you know, just changing it up in the middle and not trying to be super type A. You know, I'm pretty sure I'm a classic type A or borderline at least type A. But I do have to give myself concession. I do have to give myself breaks from the rules. Cool, getting some sweet cat sounds out of that that filter there. always wished the AutoPan had a wet and dry knob, but let's just add our own. Cool. Clean that up. I feel like I should have built in a wet dry on this one, but we can let's just nest it. It's not the cleanest way, but I'm almost hearing sort of like an Arabian melody on top of this. If only we could get a live Middle Eastern flute or something to be played on top of this, that would be fascinating. There's probably a way to try simulate it or fake it with some synthetic instruments, but all right, and now this one. Seems like we got ourselves another fast ditty like the last sketch. But I think we've had quite a few slow ambient jams, so nothing wrong with trying the same motif a couple times in a row. Of course, we chose this direction through the random chance thing. We could have gotten the 20 to 40 beats per minute range on that, but if you subdivide notes down, even when you, well, like that, I think I like it mostly just kind of going from up here. I think I also want to turn this chord thing on and off every now and then. I believe we, yes, can automate these. I do believe these cause a bit of clicking, a bit of digital popping, so we won't only make it switch on the beat. Might help eliminate some of the we could also switch between different algorithms. So that's an interesting way to get some more mileage out of the collision. Oh, I must have hit paste. Let's get another tremolo in here. Space this sound out so It only happens every so often. We could add even in another one if we want to keep it even less, occurring less. It's almost like bees in a way. Cool. Now for this one, I want to try to see if we can get that kind of Indian instrument sort of sound. I don't know if this will even be possible. We might end up somewhere completely different. Now this is obviously a stretch, but let's see. Quite funny, quite funny. Now, for our scale, let's see, I think it's the minor harmonic, perhaps? It's a major. Very, very funny. Not exactly like a an actual Indian instrument, but it's definitely in the note range. All right, that's enough of that. Let's see, what happens when we... Sure, why not? Let's automate that. Cool. I think it might have been this one. Yes. Okay, cool. I do love the simpler and sampler, how you can take any sound and if you make the loop tight enough, you can just turn it into a whole other tonal timbre thing. Almost like a wavetable type of effect. We definitely got to hear what it sounds like when we pitch it down 2 octaves. Wow, very funny. Let's try 3 octaves. Yeah, I think in this case the repitch almost makes sense because we've got something kind of goofy going on. So let's just let's mess with that. Almost like that cheesy 80s Fairlight sampler type of effect. You could get weird and switch between the repitch and the fade, which is, I think, a fun move. I'm not such a fan of jump. I think it sounds a little too glitchy, but sometimes, you know, that can be very useful. Definitely one of the weirder things we've worked on so far. That is okay. Sometimes you really got to just get weird and unconventional and like do a sound that is nothing like what you've done before. Kind of almost reminds me of Matmos a little bit. They have a very goofy sensibility with samples. Let's pull an arpeggiator in there, and this will lock things to every 16th note. We could lock everything to the 8th note. Haven't used this one in a while. Let's just see what happens. Sure, why not? Okay, cool. So quite a ruckus, but you know, definitely probably could tune this snarey thing a little bit. Wow. Let's try our nifty beat repeat thing on there. That'll make things weird. And the cutter. Let's try this lo-fi thing. Curious what the whole thing sounds like with the lo-fi on. Very transformative. It wouldn't be a complete sketch without a little bit of this. Let's get some probability on these kicks. I think for these, we'll select those and just hit the randomize. So we always get this kick happening. Maybe we should bring this one up a little bit. Maybe we can just pull this. Sometimes this won't occur then, which is... Let's get another warp and flover on this music for carports. And just one more delay after that. I think we're pretty close here to being done skis. And I'm going to pull the velocity down for these. Not sure if we even have velocity set up on the kick there, but let's double check. Looks like it's off, so let's... Probably could use a bit of toning on the snare itself. Cool. very cheap trick right here. Which I think we'll leave off. It's good to apply it, I think, to the individual tracks, but to the whole thing it sounds a bit too cheesy. Let's get this one fading in every now and then. And I think a little bit of probability. Well, I guess it started as a weird one, but you know, this music for carport's kind of I think I almost like this combination the best. This ambient stuff for musical carports is, you know, maybe a little not that interesting, or it's just a little too plain Jane for me. So we could keep the probability down low. Cool. Still totally doesn't fit the video, but I think if we sped this thing up. There we go. There we go. Cool. Okay, so yeah, I think we're good here. Got an hour and 15 minutes. I'm sure if I listen to this again later on, I'll probably hate it. You know, just like pull the tempo way down and transform it, or there we go. What was it, 131? All right, so until next time, keep it bonkers, keep it weird, keep having fun with it. Try not to stress out too much. Think of ways to make it fun and interesting and stimulating.